5, 5, 4, 3.
What the fuck? All right, everybody, please stand by. Some technical difficulties. Oh my gosh, I tell you what. Hang on. Look at this. Here we are live with Neve. It is 10:01. It's 10 o'clock here on the East Coast of New York, New Jersey. We're here. We're looking at you. Irish, how are you today, my friend?
Brother, it's been a day of technical difficulties. I literally just locked myself out of my own house, could not find a way to get back, and guess what? I kicked the door in because I got to be live with Neve. It's not time to play around.
Oh
So
man,
I got some extra work to do today.
Wow. Well, there you go. Well, we're glad to have you here, man. For everybody watching, Julie is not going to be with us today. Unfortunately, she had some doctor visit she had to attend to. But we have Irish and I, and we had a great guest, Joe Cetrone, drummer extraordinaire, all-around cool guy, kind of an intellectual mensch. I could just tell talking to him, he's like one of the bright-eyed puppies in the litter when you walk in. He's a funny guy. He's a drummer. So I was really looking forward to having him on this morning. So it's probably going to be just me and Irish today, and we're going to talk and we're going to have fun. And without having our lovely and talented assistant here today, my producer, all I could tell you is we miss you, Julie. I'm bumbling around here in the control room. I know she's sitting here asking me so nicely, how you guys doing? I told her we're doing flawlessly. Because what am I going to do? Get the poor thing worried, sitting in the doctor's office, wondering if we can't handle it. But trust me.
I was wondering what was going on. I was just texting her back and forth, and she's running around behind the scenes doing what Jules does. But yes, it does lack the, not only the intellectual fun time with Jules, but the eye candy on top of it. So we do
absolutely. Nobody wants to really look at us two mugs. We might as well just change the show. It's going to be the Julie show. Actually, the truth is we are going to be doing a spinoff that it will be essentially the Julie show. And for all those who are fans, I hope you like it. Julie joined the show last September approximately. And boy, I'm just so bummed. I can see Joe's trying to get in, and for some reason there's line error from Facebook or one of those places. But yeah, when Julie came on board, she brought it's like having a girlfriend when she moves in. They kind of spruce up the place. There's something about the feminine mystique when they're involved in anything. They make it better.
There's a lot to be said about that.
It is. I know it makes us guys crazy. It's like we're all essentially just dogs. I mean, we're animals.
Yeah.
So we have a civilized
living in a world of cats.
If we had just a world full of men, it would be Lord of the Flies in 3 hours. Some asshole would show up with, I got a flamethrower. Hold my beer. There'd be Darwin Awards given out by the hour.
Yeah, the reward for whose forehead comes out the furthest.
Exactly. We call that the Neanderthal sun visor. It's highly recommended at this time of year, especially out west where it's hot as hell. Speaking of that, how what's your weather today? Hot and hotter?
I got rained out today. So today is a rain out day, and as a landscaper, wow. I love it because it's a dual thing. I get to not only be rained out, but I can also water all the plants without having to do a damn thing. Except for now I have to.
Well, we like that. Everybody needs a special day off,
Yeah, you can sit around and do guy stuff. My Neanderthal forehead comes out a little bit. I watch TV and sit around in my underwear. It's great.
All right, look here. We've got Johnny Swainard. There you are, man. Hey, dude.
All right.
Johnny, we're glad you're here. Julie is out. She's MIA today. She'll be joining us today for the afternoon show. And while I'm talking about that, this afternoon, I have Michael Anthony Austin, a killer country singer-songwriter. And then from England, I have the incomparable Martin McNeil, who is just an amazing blues cat. he just has it down, and he has some great guitars. I'm wanting to talk to him just to see what exactly those things are that he's playing on. They're big arch top guitars, look like some big Gibsons or something from the 40s or
Oh
30s.
yeah, the big hollow body acoustic electrics.
Yeah, with the fret F holes in it, kind of thing like our friend Roy Bookbinder has some of the finest examples of those old guitars that he plays. I don't think he tours with them because they're just so valuable now, you know, that to take it on the road and risk somebody either walking off with it or just having it damaged somehow. But I'm going to have to ask after we see Martin. I'm going to find out what he's got, and then I can also find out from Roy because he is the master of all things cool and arch tops. Quite a guitar player.
I mean, speaking of all things cool, I actually saw you playing. You were singing, and you had the small drum, and you were just bongoing away. What is that one?
Where did you see it?
I can't remember. I think I saw it. I think it's on the new exit of the show.
Huh? Oh, I have not seen the new exit yet. I know
Really?
Julie wrapped it up last night. I saw it. But,
it's cool.
That was I with 2 people or 4 people, or was it the whole band?
I believe you were with 2.
That was probably Jack and I. We were called the Grimmer Twins, and we were just a guitar player and a drummer who sings. And we've been friends forever. Been playing now for about 6 years. Kind of had him in and out of the band as things go on.
Right.
We're still good friends. It's just like you never know. We tend to pick up and play around Christmas or something. We used to have a great gig we would do here in Asbury Park. Unfortunately, the Saint was a victim of COVID, and a lot of really fine acts that grew up to be quite impressive have played the Saint, and a lot of legends have played there and passed through and come in to see people who are up and coming, and we're going to miss them. We would do a benefit where we'd have about 50 bands over the course of 4 hours, just rolling them through. Get up.
That's just a good time right there. That's a whole bunch of crazy.
It is. And, you know, between getting everybody on, of course, we're all real cool about equipment changes, but, you know, we don't have many, and we encourage everybody, don't be a putz. Walk in, sit down, play your shit, and get home. Go out and mingle. Be fucking cheery like me at Christmas. Oh, fucking ho. There you go, man. We got the Christmas spirit already here.
I'm a big fan of Christmas.
Me too.
You know, even though I'm not into the religious aspect of it, there's something to it, you know.
Oh,
you
yeah.
You almost want to rediscover that when you were a little kid. There was still magic in the
wonder of it, and absolutely the thought that Santa's showing up. I mean, I'd stay in bed, but you know, early in the morning, I'd get up. And my mom would probably have to come out with a spatula and tighten me up. Tell me, wait to open up the presents.
I always used to peel the corners.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then I would, covertly tape everything back down as though that nobody would notice or see.
It's funny. There's a great song in the. I don't know if I'd call it great, but it's amusing as hell. If everybody's out there and you get a chance, Google Crud Bump on YouTube. Crud Bump plays a song called "Fuck You If You Don't Like Christmas." Fuck me if you don't think Panama's an isthmus. Fuck you if you don't like Christmas. You got to feed the holiday. Anyway, that's the gist of it. And it's hilariously funny. It's just this big fat guy in like Cleveland, Ohio or somewhere sitting in his bedroom. But, you know, the guy's got like 20 to 30,000 views of his Fuck You Christmas song. And in fact, I want to get him on. I've reached out, and his page says, no, I don't want to talk to anybody. He's fairly, if you listen to the rest of his songs, he don't want to talk to nobody. This guy,
he doesn't sound like a very chipper fellow.
No, he isn't. But then you listen to his songs and you know he's really a sick freak and he's funny as shit.
Perfect.
I think he'd fit right in. I'm going to ask him if we can use Fuck You If You Don't Like Christmas for our Christmas pageant this year when we have the Live with Neve Christmas special.
I remember
I think elves,
Radiohead redid a Christmas song, and they were like, "Merry Christmas, motherfucker." Like, right. That's fucking great.
I like the Kinks song. When they rob Father Christmas. Father Christmas, we're taking your money. I just love that song. What a great Ray Davies, man. He's not around much anymore, but boy, the guy could craft a funny ass song. So what else is going on out there in the Wild West, my friend?
Well, man, so as the story goes, getting out of prison after 25 years, every day is a new discovery. And I
Yes.
have discovered that people have turned into raging assholes on the roads. And like, not just a little bit.
Right.
Like the speed limit up here, we're going 70, usually go 70, 75 miles an hour, even though you're going a little over. And these guys will stream by you and they will just go, "Hey, get the fuck out of the way." It's like, dude, you're doing 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And that was another thing too, is like when you get out, I couldn't cross the street. I would come to the light and I would look around. I was like, I cannot tell how fast these cars are going.
Wow.
Because everything was a walking pace for so long. I mean, I hadn't been in a car. Fuck, I think at one point I wasn't in a car for about 10 years.
I'm listening.
Brian, my guy. So, I'm trying to cross the street and the cars are going by and they're way down there and everybody's looking at me like, so come on. I felt like the little kid that was, had never dived into the pool before. And so it's just like, I don't want to. I think I'm going to walk around. There's got to be a way around this river somewhere.
That's too much, man. I can't imagine many things that you went through when you were incarcerated. For everybody who's watching and doesn't know, Irish has been a friend of ours since I interviewed him about a year ago, maybe 8 months ago.
Yep.
And we've maintained our friendship over that time and grown to just hang out and have fun. For anybody watching, though, think about how pissed off you'd be. I mean, it's not just a morning cup of tea we're talking about. You wake up one day and next thing you know, you're on trial for murder that you didn't commit. And think about it, people. You're sitting there having coffee, listening to us joke around and screw around. But if you all of a sudden your whole world's upset, then you find out your mother and her lover did it and they've blamed you. So you go to jail for 24 years and you get out. And as you can see, looking at Irish, man, look at him. He's a hilarious guy. He's got a great sense of humor. He's certainly read more books than anybody I know. And, he's a great, cool guy. And that's enough of my adulation. I'm glad he's part of the show now. And
I'm glad I'm
just
here.
Think about it. Thank you, Toby. I do think that was one of the best interviews, too. Also, I didn't know, Irish, if you were some real crazy psycho killer, you might get in the car and drive over and decide you need a Neely lampshade.
Oh God, what is it? Who did that bullshit? That was Ed Gein.
Ed Gein, right?
Jesus.
Yeah,
that guy there
like,
was something.
I'm telling you, that was like the host of the basics for the Silence of the Lambs. Well, I also want to mention our drummer friend Joe Cetrone will be with us. He just popped in, and I see him smiling. Joe, you have great taste in clothes. You can't tell from my lighting in here, but great shirt, man. It's a good thing you don't have a green screen. You'd probably disappear into it. It's weird. The lights and the green screen took out all the green in my shirt. I don't know why, but if you look at my shirt, it looks like Joe's. It's a turquoise type of thing. But the wonders of green screens and technology.
Yeah, I saw the weather people do that. They get too much green and they disappear. And
right.
I think Joe said it was the vortex of technology.
Here we go. I love the vortex of technology. Let's see what we can do here. Hang on a minute. We're going to experiment with making Neve disappear, which some people would really like anyway. So here we go.
Well, then it would just be me. Then everybody's going to leave.
Oh, I don't think so. There you go. I've left the building.
That is amazing.
I'm going to come back as some kind of Grim Reaper.
Sweet.
All right. Now we have none.
You're officially Chris Angel.
There we go. Chris Angel. He actually came to Clearwater, Florida, and tore up a bar that I had gigged at for many years. This is the thing about all this green screen shit. Now I look like a fucking Terminator. Ah! I love it. On the day you do the show, Erica. Oh, fuck me. All right, for people watching this idiocy, that's known as green screen. That's what makes the screen behind me look like I have a big hole in my head. See, look at that. If I back up, it's better. Maybe my skin's really turning green for the audience's thrilled eyes. Listen, guys, we are about to go. Let me just see. We have somebody. Joe, you're here, man. I don't know how the hell you did it, but the vortex of technological darkness, think about it. We could be back in the Middle Ages. It would be awful. All right, so it is 10:15, and I'm stumbling to a break here. Let's see. Normally, I have my talented host, S. Hold on, but people, I'm trying to find our commercials.
Very talented,
So here we
lovely.
are in Live with Neve. I am also in the technological vortex.
Hi, this is Leland Sklar, and I am. Hi, this is Leland Sklar, and I am hanging with Neve, and I am having the best.
All right. Speaking of the technological vortex, I don't know what is going on today, but that was cut short. So it's 10:16. I think we might as well bring Joe on and just get right down to the business. Anybody who's a drummer, people, I give you a disclaimer here. We're both drummers, and when that happens, chaos can ensue. Actually, there's three of us who are drummers.
There's three of us here.
So,
All three of us.
So for everybody watching, this is going to turn into a drum and metaphysical shit show when we get going. We're going to have a lot of fun. And I'm kidding. Joe's a really cool guy, and I'll let him talk to you. I'm going to ask him some stuff. Good morning.
Can you see me?
I see you.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you're back, man.
I'm actually here.
You are here now. You're sure you're not just some kind of quantum criminal you're appearing in avatar form, speaking and talking?
That's a great question. And I can tell you this, is for whatever crazy reason, there's always some sort of technological issue.
You know what? I can tell you, doing a lot of them too, man. There's just always something, and I spend a lot of money to keep technical things from screwing up. But the more money you spend, then the more aggravated you get, because you're like, oh, I just got rid of some other shit that didn't work right. Now I bought some new shit that doesn't work right. Then you have
Exactly.
the baptism by fire of the tech guy in Bangalore or wherever. You know, my name is Joe. How may I help you? But go ahead, mate.
I just had to tell you this. I had this one psychic back in the day when I first started doing investigating. And they would be like, well, listen, when you go into houses, a lot of times you draw a lot of the electromagnetic frequencies of spirit energy. So every case you go on, you take more energy with you. So when it comes time to like cell phones, computers, interviews, things like that, sometimes you get a cosmic interference. So I've always kept that as maybe that's the truth. Maybe as a drummer, I've collected so much junk along the way that it's just everywhere in the atmosphere. So it's good to finally have seeped through the cracks and to be here in the interview. So it's awesome.
Right. Well, I'm sorry. I apologize because I was also reading. We have a bunch of people commenting on you, and my RAM was getting a little low this morning.
They got
tell
pills
us a
for
little
that.
bit about your start well, first off, how you started as a drummer and where that came from, and then we'll start talking about how you've morphed into a different line of interest, so to speak. For everybody watching, Joe's appeared on many paranormal shows. Tell me, Joe, which one is your favorite, or do you have a favorite of the shows you do?
So I would probably tell you that I did a case, which was my first real case as an investigator, where the claims were there was a boy that was being terrorized by spirits. So I was with my buddy and I says, hey, listen, I got to take a ride to Massachusetts. I want to check this house out. I want to go see if we can interview the people. If anything, it's a free ride. They're gonna give us some gas money. They're gonna feed us, and we'll have good conversation. Worst case scenario. So I do the interview with them. I talk to the kid. I go around the house. I use my equipment, my tape recorders, and I'm taking my pictures, and I'm getting no evidence at all. So at the end of the night, I says, listen, I don't feel like there's anything here, but if you want, we can go ahead and cleanse the house, bless it, say a prayer, do what we need to do. Anyway, that next day, it's Sunday, I'm watching the New York Giants play the Dallas Cowboys. So now I have to go back and I have to listen to all the audio. So it's like 30 minutes on one cassette, flip it over, 30 minutes on the other cassette. I'm practically like lost in the game and not paying attention. Then it came time for the blessing. And I hear us getting ready to go into this basement and say this prayer. All of a sudden, as soon as I'm done saying the prayer, this loud came over the radio airwaves. And I remember flinging the headphones. I say, what the heck is that? So I have a friend who's part of the Ghost Hunters. I brought the evidence to him, had him check it out, and he says, Joe, that's something I've never heard before. It doesn't sound like it was anything altered, anything in the room. To me, it sounds like it was definitely paranormal related. That ended up becoming an episode on a show called Paranormal Survivor. And that's what kind of launched me into the whole world of TV. But it was that EVP of that inhuman growl that basically launched my career.
Can you explain to those who don't know what an EVP is?
So an EVP is electronic voice phenomenon. And the whole belief system is that spirits, especially when you're using an analog recorder, spirits can leave imprints into the tape, into the actual metal on the tape. So if there's something in the room and it's trying to speak to you or say something, we can't hear it audibly, but a lot of these analog recorders back in the day were able to do that. And that's what it is. So you don't hear it audibly, but when you play back the tape, you can hear your conversations, and then there's kind of like a bleed through the tape that you're listening to, and this voice comes in and it draws itself out. And a lot of these spirits speak in, 1-2 word syllables. It'd be like, get out, or it might call your name, or it might say something like, why are you here? And it's hard to decipher it, but the more you listen to it, the more you understand that type of voice. And it's pretty fascinating. A lot of people call it divination, as far as tapping into that realm. And I get it. A lot of people will do Ouija boards and seances, and they'll go into abandoned houses and they'll try to get evidence and, do the whole ghost hunting thing. And I never looked at it as trying to be a ghost hunter. I looked at it as, once I got this evidence of something that seemed to exist in another dimension, and yet it's trying to interact in our dimension, well, that just kind of created a lot of intrigue for me, especially with people that I've lost along the way, my father dying, and so many of these bizarre little timings and these divine appointments that's happened in my life, these signs along the way. I wanted to just be my own little Mulder and start my own little, my own X-Files, if you will. And that is what was just, an investigation on a couple of cases. An intrigue has turned out to be, 17 years of just trying to help people, consult people, and just kind of wander through life and almost kind of walk in two different realms. You've got to live and survive in one world, and you got your family and you got your priorities, but yet you're always walking into this other world because there's something there. And unfortunately, a lot of us are closed-minded in the world today that we can't understand that realm. So it's like you either believe or you don't believe. But I can tell you, based on all my information, based on my evidence, based on experiences of watching and seeing objects move and, hearing things, that there's definitely a world beyond. It just is a matter of how much we choose to pay attention.
I'm curious, and I'm certainly not one to make fun of anybody, because
Sure.
that's just you're obviously a normal, sane guy, and you've gone out and you stumbled onto this kind of knowledge, if you will. And what was the first time like that when you went out to the house? Have you ever had any other manifestations that you ever noticed anything weird prior to starting?
Great question. So I was born in Providence, Rhode Island, in an Italian section called Federal Hill. It was riddled with a lot of Catholics, a lot of Italians, lived a basic normal life. And when I was 7 years old, I remember being in bed, I'm laying down, It's probably about 3:30 in the morning. I remember waking up because I couldn't sleep. And all of a sudden I felt a presence enter the room, and an actual being that stood there with, I don't want to say a robe, but that, at 7 years old, that's how I described it. It was a robe. And I remember looking on the side under the covers and peeking through, and I see this robe and this person standing there, and I'm afraid to look up. So I bury my head in the pillow. I say, God, this can't be happening. I look again and it's still there. And I kept saying, please go away, please go away. And at that point, because I went to Catholic school, I only knew like the Our Father. So I just say, and Our Father on heaven, all this stuff. I said, please go, please go. And then I looked, and then it was gone. And that led to an onslaught of a bunch of things. I had some family that was involved with the occult, people that were into, I don't want to say Satanism, but they were into some of the dark arts. They practiced magic and trying to.
Let me ask you, as a young guy, when is this kind of a situation where your family said, you got some crazy family over here that you shouldn't hang around with? How was that? How did you understand that concept as a kid? And what were they just goofing around with it? Like, in the 70s, people did a lot of crazy shit. How was that?
So the story goes like this, because it's still vague to me as being a kid at that point, that the people that my parents were friends with at the time were involved into some dark stuff, and they had a coven, and they used to do some crazy things. And that from that point on, it was an onslaught of a bunch of paranormal experiences that happened to us. When we were in Providence, when we moved to the suburbs, which kind of led to me playing drums, and the whole music thing started opening up, and then I started finding my passion for drums, and it seemed like running parallel was two different worlds. There was Joe that was trying to do the right thing, and then there was Joe, who's the drummer, who's intrigued by this darkness, who wants to play out, who wants to get involved with, the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll phase. And as it just kind of keeps going and going and going, I'm watching things happen, and I'm self-destructing. So, I think that
were you having addiction issues?
So I did. So basically, my turning point was being a drummer. Once I got out into the world and started playing into clubs and realizing that I could afford things and I can buy drugs, and you get into the whole fame and the intrigue of it all, as you know.
That's for sure.
Oh, I can do this. I can have this. Okay, good. I'll meet you at the after the show. We'll get together. We'll party, and then that led into addiction. Then led into overdosing, almost dying, and finally I was like, listen. Music is not supposed to be like this. Music is a wonderful experience. It's a great expression, whether you're playing metal, whether you're playing jazz, any frequency that you tap into as a conductor, as a drummer, because I call us drummers conductors. We pretty well set the pace of how the night is going to go. We can make eye contact with somebody and project our emotions into them so they could feel what we're feeling. That's how deep, like, I've taken this whole philosophy with music and spirituality. But it was also felt like I was tapping into another frequency that was causing a lot of this craziness to happen, that was prohibiting me to do what I wanted to do, which was obviously be a successful musician, but do things the right way and not be taken out by it. So when I made that decision to quit drugs.
How long have you been sober?
Get sober, walk the light. Right around the time Nikki Sixx came out with the Heroin Diaries, I'm like, wow, I could relate to a lot of his stories, because it is easy to get like swooped up into this chaos. And then that opened the door for the spirituality to come in. So it went from spirituality to music and destruction, back to spirituality. And now that I've lived to tell about it, done some stuff on television, raised my kids, stayed sober, and now when I play because I love it, and there's nothing behind it other than the feeling of making people feel good and bringing them back to those old times in their life.
Excellent. Well, listen, we're going to go to a break real quick. We're going to be right back, and we're going to have Joe Cetrone back. Myself and Irish are hosting today, and we hope you're enjoying the show, and I will be right back.
We are starving. I have no makeup, and that's why I look like this. We will work for donations, whatever we can get. We totally appreciate. Help us keep Live with Neve alive. Now let's head over to Dead Neve and ask him, see what he's come up with. Hopefully something. Oh, doesn't.
Bye, Julie. God, I miss her. I think right now we're actually having some paranormal activity. Perhaps I need a saging. I'm not sure, but there seems to be some
All morning. I got locked out of my house, and I don't remember locking my door. And I had to kick the damn door in. This is real shit.
Getting back to, well, your career as a drummer. Let's carry that conversation on a little bit more.
Sure.
What did your family support your role as a drummer? And just how did you, like, when you were a young guy, did you just wake up one morning and say, I want to play? Did you have somebody influence you? How did that work out?
Great question. So everybody in my family on my father's side are musicians, but they were piano players, singers, and a couple guitar players. Nobody was a drummer. Now, I had ADHD as a kid, so I'm bouncing around all over the place. I can't focus. I can't pay attention. And the only thing that soothed me was the constant motion of movement, just constantly moving, constantly moving. So right around that time, as we will probably all attest to, and if there's musicians out there, they'll probably say the same thing, even though some of them might not want to admit it. Kiss was huge.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Criss, Paul Stanley, Ace Frehley, Gene Simmons. You put Kiss pictures on your wall. I mean, I went crazy.
Right.
One day, a couple of us were getting together and we tried to paint our faces and do like a air guitar to playing Kiss. And I think the song I Stole Your Love came on. And I'm like, okay, I like this song. I'd never heard it before at that point. So I flipped over my garbage can and I grabbed 2 pencils. And I says, I'll be Peter Criss, and then you could be Paul Stanley, and you could be Ace Frehley. So now I'm playing, and all of a sudden, I'm actually keeping a beat to the song. Right. And my father came in and said, wow, you're actually holding that rhythm. So at that time, his band was looking for a drummer. They hired an 18-year-old jazz drummer who was a fusion drummer, who was an incredible drummer. He became my drum teacher, taught me how to read some music, drum pad all the time, paradiddles, double stroke rolls, single stroke rolls. He made me play a whole year on a pad before I could even think of getting a drum set. That's how intense it was.
I had a similar experience.
And that's kind of launched my career. And, then I started getting into bands like, Rush, Neil Peart, obviously he blew me away and watching him on like Subdivision's video and Tom Sawyer back in the day. And then King Diamond was really huge because I was in Providence and King Diamond was playing with a band called Flotsam and Jetsam, who was opening up for them. Right. And I remember sitting there not knowing what to expect with King Diamond. And all of a sudden he comes on stage, and Mickey D was the drummer for King Diamond. Right. And he's played his Sonar kit. And once he started blasting those double bass beats and triplets, and I'm like, I've got to buy a double bass, and I want to play metal. And that's pretty well set it all off.
I love it. And do you still play around? What do you do these days?
So right now, COVID, when we had the whole shutdown,
right?
Doing the paranormal, I was working on a novel. I'm still working on the novel. It's not quite done yet, but during that COVID, I decided to go buy myself an electric drum set. I says, I don't want to beat the drums at home. I don't want to be loud. I don't want to blast everybody out. I was burning out kind of on playing drums because it was same old thing, rehearsing, playing the same songs, doing your gigs, waiting to get paid from the club owner, going home, not getting home till 3 in the morning. You say to yourself, why am I still doing this?
I get it.
That COVID, that year off, allowed me to have a passion for drums again. And I started falling back in love with the instrument as a whole. I started playing songs, put my headphones on, doing different stuff. Earth, Wind, and Fire, just challenging myself from playing, you know, metal to Earth, Wind, and Fire to progressive rock to whatever I was trying to do to just kind of find that rhythm again. Opened the door for me to play. So right now, currently, I do a lot of fill-ins for different bands who are looking for like a drummer to play a show. I'll do a lot of heavy metal, Queensryche, King Diamond, Judas Priest, whatever they want. And I also play in a Ronnie James Dio Black Sabbath tribute band called Holy Diver.
Oh, great.
And we have a show tonight in Massachusetts. So that's
where
what
are
I
you
do.
playing
So
tonight?
I do that.
Tell us where you're playing. We have friends up in Boston and, you know, Massachusetts. We have some viewers.
So we're in New Bedford, Massachusetts tonight, in a club called Knuckleheads, and it's in New Bedford. It's probably about an hour from my house, hour and 5 minutes, and we're gonna do an hour and a half set of all Ronnie James Dio top stuff, along when he was with Sabbath. So we're gonna do a lot of like Children of the Sea, Heaven and Hell. We'll do Man on a Silver Mountain, and then we'll take off from all his solo stuff too. So it'll be a lot of fun.
I think that sounds great. I wish I was up there. I could use a little.
Yeah, I'd like to go to see that too. I do
Irish,
like playing
do you have some
that old
questions?
Sabbath. I do.
Sure.
So as you're coming into your age as a drummer, and I'm ADHD in a drummer, and I relate greatly to that. Do you think that musicians in general, maybe even more so drummers, because we tend to be emotional creatures who need, you know, physical outlets. So can you relate the emotional to the almost spiritualism that is being a musician, and does that drive you to be more emotional in the music you create?
That is probably like you just kind of nailed the whole reasoning for me writing the novel that I'm writing, because I wanted to take the spirituality, I wanted to take the addiction, I wanted to take, you know, what was going on with me musically and try to find a balance of how it all connected together. That's really what my main focus was. And if there was something that was, I don't know if there's anything more important than that, because I believe it is all interconnected together. The ADHD, the emotions, and matter of fact, I'm trying to write this whole book as what I like to term called accents of emotion. And I like to accent the emotions through music. So whether I was suffering through addiction, pain, loss, you know, all the emotions that are affected, I think this is what I feel. Music is a vibration. We as people are vibrations. We're energy. We're movements. We're living. We're living oracles, if you will. Some of us can tap into that creative side of our mind. We have artists. We have writers. We have actors. But then you go into musicians, and as a musician, I think when the frequencies from between music and emotion, when the frequencies hit the actual catalyst, like us as drummers, especially for me, because I could relate to it because I'm a drummer, that I believe what we express and the emotions that we have is what our healing is. So I look at it this way. Music is healing to people when we listen to a song on the radio. We can take somebody back into a time capsule. We can watch a video and feel that, oh, I remember what I was doing right around that time when I heard that song, who I was dating, what I was doing, where my life was. We all know that as musicians. That's what we live for. But when you can tap into it and know that that's what you're doing and project that so somebody can feel those same feelings, they're feeling your emotions. So you can kind of transfer your emotion to their emotion and give yourself healing as you heal somebody else. And that to me is the amazing part of being a musician and most importantly, a drummer, because we are the rhythmic pattern of what is created through sound.
And would you agree that, and I think Neil can attest to this, and when you're around drummers and you're around musicians for a long time, especially drummers, drummers, they either have it or they don't have
Or they
it.
don't.
And I don't know what it really is. It's the ability to be smooth. You know what I mean?
I think it's a lot of things. It's passion, it's education, dedication to practice, and also I think, I don't know, I think drummers, we have a reputation as being pretty wild and crazy, and you know, I've certainly got that reputation, but really I'm a pretty normal guy at home. I mean, I don't have any weird hobbies, or, you know, drummers are, they're, you know, when I meet a quiet one, I always find it interesting. I like to screw around with them. Say, so you're a really excitable boy, you know, when you play, do you get a little excited? Do you feel a little passionate?
We know what's in there kicking around. We know. Come on out,
dude.
bring it on.
Either that or he's like on the serial killer hot list.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you just never know. I've found that, you know, drummers we do bring people together, and we have a quality. You know, drums are a universal thing that for centuries upon centuries, first instruments, and I imagine the first guy who made a drum back in Neanderthal days. I don't know, man. One day he wakes up and he's got 5 cave chicks checking him out because he's sitting there banging out an early version of Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin. You know,
Absolutely.
You know, that fucking great intro. Yeah, I definitely think personality goes along with the instruments, the stereotypes. Like bass players are usually kind of quiet and subdued, and they think the drummer's a complete psycho. I mean, I've had many bass players who love me, but they don't understand me at all. They look at you, the drummer's like an interesting scientific subject. What's going on in that pea brain of the drummer right now? Oh, I'm just sitting here thinking about maybe doing your wife later. No, I'm sorry, that's terrible. No, I'm kidding.
Well, from really paradiddle to paranormal, and now we are into
pornographic innuendo.
Pornographic
innuendo only. Remember that. It's all implied. There's nothing bad here. And remember, sex is good for you, so don't be, you know. Any rate, we'll move on. What do you have coming up in the paranormal? You got some new stuff?
So I filmed about 8 months ago. We filmed season 3 of a show called Haunted Hospitals. Mm-hmm. And basically what it is because the paranormal market is so oversaturated that now they're entering into the field of doctors and nurses having experiences in the hospital. So I have a friend of mine who's a doctor at a hospital, and he had a couple of paranormal experiences. Well, of course, the producer was like, "Hey, Joe, do you know any doctors out there who want to tell their story? I'd love to, you know, to interview them. And of course, if you want to come on as a consultant or part of their, you know, investigations, and please do." So I finally talked my doctor friend into doing it. He ended up doing it. So we filmed 4 episodes of Haunted Hospitals, which I think is airing in Canada right now, but it won't be in the United States till probably fall. Outside of that, I've kind of tucked the paranormal away to finish this novel that I'm working on, which is based on everything we're talking about: addiction, music, ups and downs, you know, basically from darkness into light concept. I'll be doing that, and with the hopes of maybe by next year, things will be a little bit better with COVID, get more gigs, start to acclimate and play a little more. So I think we talked about it earlier a little bit. Often as a musician.
Let's come back and talk a little bit more about addiction and so forth. I got to cut to a break. And knowing how we've had technological bugaboos today, God only knows what'll happen. But here's an interesting bit.
So let's see what other picadillos have you had people, and what do they want? Do they want us to help advise them on what to do? Is that what I'm getting from this letter? So let's see what other picadillos have you had people, and what do they want? Do they want us to help advise them on what to do? Is that what I'm getting from this letter? Is it a cry for help?
Well, yeah, as I'm reading through all of these different, and they're in separate emails too.
Well, let's see what other picadillos have you had people, and what do they want? Do they want us to help advise them on what to do?
Hi, we're back with Live with Neve.
Picadillos.
15 minute with pecadillo. We're gonna have a little Mexican food today, all right? Or a little pecadillo, like a little tryst with someone.
That sounds good, actually.
Doesn't it? I think
It
some
does.
Mexican food would be great today. I'm really up for it.
Yeah.
Oh man, too bad we got Johnny checking out. Look at this. All right, hey man, be cool, Johnny. I'm looking forward to hearing you guys play soon.
Peace, Johnny.
Johnny's saying goodbye to you, man. He's a very fine guitar player.
He's a great. All right, so let me tell you about Johnny.
Okay.
So
What you
I'm
got?
18
What's the dirt?
I'm 18 years old, and I'm looking to play in a band in Providence. So he ends up responding to an ad of a guitar player looking for a drummer to jam with.
All right.
Johnny and I, my first band ever, like as far as playing, jamming on a steady, was with John. And we played in a band together called Haven. We were together for a couple of years. We've had some deep conversations. I've known John for basically since I was 18. And that's the amazing part about John. And he saw me on TV. We had lost touch with each other for about probably 20 years. He sees me on TV and he contacts me, and it kind of picked up this whole thing again. And we had conversations of the past, and here I am on this show, thanks to Johnny.
Well, that's really great. Small world. To everybody watching, remember, be nice to people, okay? Just do it, not for any real reason, but be nice on the way up. You will meet people on the way down, and they will cheer your fall. And you got to get used to that. So be cool to people. Treat them like you want to be treated, because you'll meet them
Absolutely.
again. And, it's funny, like you said, I've had some of those experiences in my life where friends I haven't had for 20 years all of a sudden pop up because of the, virtues of Facebook, which there are very few. There's very few, I must say. I know I'm sitting here using their platform, but there'll be another platform, and there'll be 10 more by the time I'm dead, I'm sure. And there'll become a time where Facebook people will be like, I don't want to do that anymore. I've seen it already with a lot of the young people, TikTok and all these other social media. For me, having a fairly long attention span, I really get the 15, 30-second videos that are just so stupid. I mean, I don't know. It's like the biggest time sink. I'd rather sit and sort my sock drawer than sit and watch some of these shows.
I know. It's crazy. It is.
I can find something like get out, like you said, having a practice pad. I also have an electronic kit here in the studio. And when I just feel like I want to, like I'm ready to explode, I just sit down and play for a half hour.
Yeah.
Do my thing. And I truly believe that music's like the only thing that I've seen that really is, and it's an overused cliche, but it is a universal language.
Anthony Kiedis said it is the great communicator.
It sure
yes,
is.
and it really is. I mean, because I've got friends from so many places, and I've never been a worry. I don't worry about where people come from. I worry about the people inside. And I've met so many cool people from so many places, and you can tell if you get a bunch of musicians together from different places or different generations. I've noticed it too. Like when I've played with a bunch of old guys in jazz bands who are like the World War II generation, and they're all dying off now. So there's not that many of those old bands. But for me in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, there were still these orchestras that would play. And a lot of people today haven't heard the full fury like of a great horn band, like seeing Buddy Rich live or Maynard Ferguson or any of those guys.
Absolutely.
I as a kid,
he will humble you. As a drummer, Buddy Rich will humble you.
Oh, he will.
Absolutely.
He'll make you realize, why did you pick this stick up? But who are some of your favorite drummers?
Well, Buddy Rich.
I know you like metal, so I'm sure you like Nico and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love Buddy Rich. Definitely
Me
Buddy
too.
Rich. I'm a big fan of Carter Buford.
Oh,
from the Dave Matthews Band.
Mm-hmm.
He's great.
I think he's a great drummer. I love Mickey D, was a big influence with the whole double bass growing up, you know, with introducing that. Neil Peart, Scott Rockenfield from Queensryche. I mean, I like so many different drummers. You know, there's some people that just like a certain type of drummer or a musician.
Sure.
I love all genres. Mike Mangini from Dream Theater is also a great drummer.
Absolutely.
But what I've learned more now as I've gotten older, especially talking to my drum teacher, because we still stay in contact with each other with the whole fusion, I'm starting to realize that as a drummer when I was younger, I always tried to fill the air with drums, fills, double bass patterns, all this crazy, all these crazy syncopations. And then I'm starting to realize now that a lot of these musicians that I'm listening to allow the music to breathe and they play with more feel. So I'm learning now less is actually more, where before I had to have the big set, the octavons, the rototoms, all those things. Now I'm like, you know something? I'm reinventing my whole instrument and all over again, and I'm seeing it from another side, and I'm like, wow, this is really great. Dave Weckl, I'm listening to him more.
Dave
Simon Phillips, I'm starting to understand letting it breathe and feeling it more is better than making every song sound like a drum solo.
You're right. I've never been paid or I've never been fired for underplaying. When I was a young cat, I would overplay and I've got better, like we all learn over time. And now I'm about to be 60 and I just don't want to carry all that shit around. I was like you, rototoms, octavons, a big gong. I'm like, how many times have I used the gong other than at the end of Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin? And guy would try to light it on fire and then he'd light me on fire and, hilarity would ensue.
That's great.
But, I mean, nowadays I have a whole bunch. I have a Slingerland kit from the 70s.
Nice.
About a 75 and I just love it. And then it's a gold sparkle. So it's that old 60s gold sparkle, but I have every size tom-tom in that combination. And so in the studio, I'll use more drums, but I'm not carrying out 20 pieces of shit when I want to go out and play somewhere. 3 cymbals, a tom-tom, floor tom, kick, snare, and I'm ready to go. I might add some kind of electronic percussion, but other than that, I'm just I used to carry so much shit, the big Ludwig Octoplus, and you realize that if you have people moving it for you, it's great. If you got to do it yourself, and there's chapters to our lives, but
absolutely.
So we have about 7 minutes. Irish, got any more questions you'd like to ask while we're talking?
So, I mean, talking about drums, so I really admire Danny Carey from Tool.
Oh, great drummer.
That guy is he is the epitome of being able to bring it up, bring it down, and do anything in between. Big fan of Dave Matthews Band. But when I look at Danny, I watch him play, and he plays with such a finesse. And I think all of you would agree, because I'm starting to get into that point to where as I get older, it is about the finesse. It is about the dynamics. It is about actually being a percussionist as opposed to a drummer. And what is your advice to people like Neil too, as you learn that? How do you back away and go back in, staying in the pocket while expressing the drums as for what they are, as opposed to just this, insane thing?
So obviously having ADHD, and it took me years to realize that the reason why I was playing a lot is because I did have ADHD. So as my mind is thinking, my mind is constantly trying to put out fills and beats and basically what was in my mind was coming out on the drums. And it's funny that you mentioned Danny Carey, because I'd probably say over the past 6 months, I have learned and listened to a lot of Tool, and I'm understanding that Danny does have a spiritual connection as far as he puts spirituality in drums, and he's got that discipline. So what I would say to a lot of drummers that are starting out, or they're just joining a band, it's not about how much you know. It's good to have a little knowledge of how to read, you know, to understand, you know, to have your coordination, to be able to throw in a fill when you need to. But what I've learned now, the hardest thing for me is what I've been doing is playing. So if you're playing, you're jamming by yourself, you got a click track going on, the first thing you want to do is stop playing all your different fills. I would say the best discipline is to just lay down a beat and stay into that groove and just do it for 3, 4, 5 minutes and just kind of let yourself go into your own world. And then as you feel it, as you feel that fill, as you feel that improv, because really all a fill is an improv. It's something that you feel that you kind of like got to get out, and then you go back to your beat. So the biggest thing for drummers starting out now is less is definitely more. Feel the music and express your feeling through just letting that song breathe. And then in that air and in that silence as you're playing, you'll start to develop your style and realize that, hey, I don't have to do all these fills to be heard, that I can just lay down that beat and fall in that pocket. Because if I can tap my foot to a drummer when he's playing, and I'm not over crammed by all the stuff that he's trying to do, then I know that that drummer has a good feel. So the best thing is to develop feel, and less is more. And as much as you feel like a lion in a cage and you just want to go nuts, you've got to bring that discipline down, and it's going to do you, and it's going to fear your bandmates when you play out, because there's nothing worse than a guitar player doing a solo and then you feeling it and you want to start doing your fill, and he's going to yell at you at the end of the set and say, hey, why did you do that fill during that solo? Because these are the dialogues you have backstage.
Yep.
Right. Well, you know,
So
I think
ADHD,
another thing,
learning discipline through making noise. It's the greatest thing ever.
well, you know, also a trick to remember is always play for the song, especially I'm coming from more of a studio perspective. But, you know, when you walk into a date and you have something you've never heard, you know, the first thing you're going to do is, well, I think I ought to do this and I ought to do that. And usually you're hired for something that they like. They want you to put it in. But you have to be disciplined and say, this isn't about the drums on the track. This is about playing the song and making it alive and breathe. And it's funny you said less is more. I like it. It's funny you said just play and not do a fill. Sometimes when I'm doing a gig, I know like I'm dying to just put in a fill.
Just
and
throw
I
it
purposely, in there. But I purposely will, like, I'll do a real, when I do one, it'll be a real humdinger, man. I'll really make it work with the song. And then somebody out there who likes drummers will, like, you know, they'll sit and listen and go, that was fucking great. I hope he does it again. Well, I'll make them wait a long time for that fill. So by the time they're ready to hear it, like they're like, oh, he's not going to do it again. And then I'll do some variation of it. And I mean, it's important to play the song and not let your own ego get in the way of that.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, I'm like all drummers, I'm very modest about my skills, and I'm just a shrinking violet. And I sit in the back with my little notebook. No, not quite. I have an image to uphold or detract from. Either way, it's all fun. I definitely want to have you back on to talk some more. It's a pity Jules couldn't make it. She's probably still at the doctor, and she's been popping in, just checking up to see if we're hanging in there.
Making sure all the kids are doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of like leaving the kids at home and you end up the house is burning when you pull up in the driveway. Oh, everything's fine, Mom. Little Jimmy fell down the well.
That's great.
So it is Father's Day. We got a minute before we go out of here.
Sure.
I want to just say to my dad, Don Hester, I love you, man. And I wish you were here. It was great seeing you a month ago. And for everybody who's got a great dad, thank him. I love my kids, and being a dad made me the best I can possibly be. And that's about it. So for all you fathers, have a great weekend. Remember, it's barbecue time, some beef and fun. And ladies, make your father feel good. Remind him of what that night was like making that kid.
Yeah.
That was good.
I tell you, man, good. You know, it's all good. And I'm going to try and see if our outro will work. We have a new outro and new closing. Let's see if it rolls. Take it easy, everybody. Love y'all.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Okay. For some reason, it's going really slow. So on this day of technical difficulties, remember to go with the flow, the same as it ever was. Is this my beautiful house? Is this my beautiful car? And the days go by, water flowing underground. Wow, I don't know what happened to our background. So, guys, it's going to get weird, and it's always going to get weirder. So be tough, be cool, and see you next time on Live with Neve.
Like a melting flake of snow this year. I won't be sad to see it go.
Hi, I'm Darren F. Flynn, a singer-songwriter from Ireland.